The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everybody, on this snowy night. This is the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, February 9th, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mark.
Excellent. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States.
and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just the usual reminders for everybody. The meeting is being recorded. Your questions and comments are recorded. They become part of the public record. If people have questions, if they could write their questions in the question box so that we can see them, that's most helpful. While we do monitor for raised hands, we sometimes miss them. So if you can write your question in the question box, that will assure us that it's seen. Okay, we start tonight with open forum with honoring one of Westford's residents, Dennis Chan. On behalf of the board, I would like to congratulate Dennis for receiving the National Citizen Scientist Catalyst Award for his participation in Alzheimer's clinical research and his outreach efforts to get more people in the community to take part in Alzheimer's research. I know I, for one, my family has been touched by Alzheimer's, and it is, I believe, at this point, one of, if not, it's one of the fourth leading causes, I believe, of death here in the United States today. But Dennis has been an active participant in the research for Alzheimer's over the years. He volunteers in the A4 Alzheimer's Prevention clinical trial at the Center for Alzheimer's Research and Treatment at the Brigham and Women's Hospital. He has educated potential volunteers about research opportunities. He's a member of the Alzheimer's Clinical Trial Consortium Advisory Board and has represented the Alzheimer's Research and Treatment Center at their annual meeting in San Diego last year. He and his wife, both of whom live here in Westford, obviously participate in the Dementia Friends support group here in Westford. So on behalf of the board, Dennis, congratulations. Thank you for all of your hard work and your dedication and commitment to Alzheimer's disease. I think we all hope that someday the efforts of the researchers and the clinical trials and volunteers like you will lead to treatment and a cure of this disease. So thank you very much and congratulations. And I know you're out there, Dennis. I don't know if you want to say anything. You're welcome to, or not. Whatever your pleasure is. Okay. Okay. So moving right along. Erica Cole has an announcement on behalf of the League of Women Voters. So Eric, if you could unmute Erica.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, yes, this is Erica Cole, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters, I was hoping to let you know that we are holding a event at the end of the month on the 27th of February. It's a Saturday, to support any candidates or potential candidates who are thinking about running for elected office, to get over the hurdle of the 50 signatures required on their nomination papers. In the era of COVID, it's been very difficult to approach people. Many people are a bit standoffish, understandably, even if we're masked. And it seemed like a hurdle that we could help to alleviate by holding this event. The event will be at the Abbott School, from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, again on Saturday, February 27th. We are urging any voters in town to please drive through the Abbott School parking lot. They will be greeted by a person masked, gloved, with a clipboard, which has been sanitized, to be able to receive the nomination papers. They would then sign them and hand them back through the window. The only thing we ask is that everyone does come with masks and that they stay in their car for the duration of signing the signatures, but then they can drive on their merry way, and we can try to make sure that everyone is able to get over the hurdle of the 50 signatures required on their nomination papers. And hopefully, if anyone is thinking about running out there for an elective office, and this was something that was putting them off, we hope that this can maybe help encourage any potential candidates to take on running for elected office.
Thank you, Erica. Erica, I have one question based on a question and a concern I had from a resident. There may be residents who will want to be putting petition articles on the town meeting warrant. Will it be permissible for them or their representatives to attend this drive-in so that they too can get the required signatures they may need?
I think it's not consistent with the charter of the League of Women Voters to do that, because it could be conceived as being partisan, or it could be conceived as taking a side on an issue for something that we have not voted on, that we do not have a stated policy for. So I don't tend to think that that would be something that the steering committee for the League of Women Voters would approve.
Okay.
Sorry to say that.
Okay, just I will let the individual know that. So, all right. Thank you. Oh, and one last thing. I know you said it's Saturday, February 27th, but I believe you have a rain date that you just might want to make people aware of as well, in case it rains or snows that day.
Yes, that's true. Yes, we do have a weather date, and we will be posting on our League of Women Voters Westford website, and as well as on our Facebook or Instagram accounts, if indeed we have to switch from the 27th of February until Sunday, the 28th. So yes, thank you for pointing that out. Both of them would be from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock.
Great. Thank you, and thank you very much to the League for sponsoring this and helping the candidates get the required signatures.
Sure.
Okay, does anybody from the board have anything for the open forum? Anita?
Yep, I just wanted to point out that later this week on the 12th is the Lunar New Year, so Happy New Year to all of those families and residents in town who celebrate the new year.
Happy New Year. I believe it's the year of the ox. So Happy New Year to those folks. Okay, Scott?
So if you've seen the TV news tonight, and I guess in the past, you've seen on Channel 4 tonight, our highway department featured, if you want to get their secret sauce for sand and salt mix, on Beacon Street, there's a little shed. Bring a 5-gallon pail and shovel, and you can get Chip's secret sauce for your driveway free of charge. And if you're elderly or disabled, call the senior center, and they'll have the police bring you a bucket. So it's one of your taxpayer funded features. Take advantage of it.
Great, thank you. All right, with that, we are at our 7:05 p.m. item, which is a joint meeting with the school committee and the finance committee, and we are all gathered here tonight to hear Jody's budget presentation for fiscal year 2022, a much anticipated event. So with that, Jody, to you, I will turn it over to you to present the 2022 budget and your fiscal year message.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we generally do a Word document and a PowerPoint. So there's more information in the Word document that is in the packet, and all this is online. But basically, we'll start the presentation. We had a charter of what the requirements are, which we added to the presentation last year. And basically, in consultation with all town departments, I am charged to prepare this budget and including a capital improvements program, and that's what we've done. So getting into the objectives. So this has been a tough year, probably the most challenging year in my life, both at work and at home. But the impacts of the pandemic have been substantial. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, but in particular to local revenue, and you'll see that as we move forward. So we're starting with, what did we do? You gave us a budget policy direction. We tried to achieve that, adhere to it. I believe we did maintain level services. We do have a capital plan that is sustaining assets. We always share mission statements or charts, and we explain the differences from what happened in 21 to what we're proposing in 22. And we offer transparency. All this, again, is on the website. And I gave you a link to all the budget documents. So we'll go into projected revenue. We thought it would be interesting for the public to see the difference between our 21 revenues and our 22 projected revenues. So we've listed these here. This does not include capital or community preservation, which is why other available funds is such a decrease. So that will change when that includes community preservation. So, excuse me, the next slide is local revenue, and this has been seriously impacted. Oops, where are we going? Okay, so this has been fairly seriously influenced. It does fluctuate year to year. If things change as we get through the budget process, we will make adjustments. But you can see where we've been hit very hard is in local options. That is meals and hotel excise tax. People are buying cars, which is right above that, which is great, but they're not going out to restaurants or staying in hotels as much as they were before. So it has a sharp decrease. And then you can just look down at our other projections that we have added to get us to our final number. New growth is another part of our revenue each year. And boy, it's been all over the place, as you can see from this chart. And we do give you the figures. But for 22, we do have several residential projects underway. So we are hoping to get at least 850,000 in revenue or new growth, I'm sorry, for this upcoming year. Reserves is another important part of what we do. And of course, you know that does impact our bond rating. And we are showing a chart of our reserves, what they were last year and where they are projected to be. I guess this chart is not showing that, but where they are now and how that has changed. We are expecting, right now we're at 7.6 million with our reserves, which is 6.7% of our total operating budget. After our annual town meeting, at this point, we're expecting to be at 6.2, right under that, or 5.4. So we feel like we're in pretty good shape in our reserves. So then we talk about allocating new revenue, which is something we talked a lot about. I don't think that's, all right, that's, all right, I'm sorry. That is the additional revenue that we have to allocate, broken down by category. So the next slide will show how we allocated the new revenue. So you can see we broke it down. First of all, when we get new revenue, we have to pay for what we call fixed expenses, you know, employee benefits, retirement, Neshoba assessment, and other areas that we have to take out first. Then we have what's left over, and then we kind of divvy that up. So this year we had $1,276,000. We gave the public schools, including everything, $857,000, and the town $259,000. Things changed a little bit at the end because we had some adjustments to make. So we ended up having a small surplus of $159,000. I didn't want to go back and allocate that. I thought that we should begin talking about the budget knowing that we have that amount left that we could decide how we want to spend it. I know we didn't fund police or fire. The schools are still looking for additional funds. Town and School Safety Task Force has talked about some things, so I just kind of wanted to hold this in reserve so we could have a little bit to move forward with. The projected expenditures, I have this chart showing, you know, by department and different classification, how all this money gets just divided to reach 100% of the total budget. So what we do, we did it this year in October because of the delays in town meeting, but we basically gave both the town and schools a target to hit of 1.4% increase. That's what we thought we could handle. We received a little more than that from town departments, so we went through and reduced town departments by another $332,000. Or 1.31 to get us down to actually a 1.03% increase. The schools we left at the 1.4, and again, that's why we have the 159 remaining. So we have some things to keep in mind, and that is collective bargaining agreements. Right now, I have 5 that are settled through 22, and fire, which IAFF is not. Excuse me. Check my log back there. The schools have several contracts that are settled through 21, but they do have several to settle through 22. So those are things we need to be cognizant of. Unclassified is a big budget. It includes many different things. Some of them I've outlined here. Medicare is and insurances and so on. The whole budget is increasing by 3.43%. Health insurance is increasing by 669. Another slide will say 8%, but that's because it's a split year. So it doesn't start till November, so you have to keep that in mind. OPEBs, we're decreasing our funding from last year by 538. We had an idea to tie this to meals and hotel excise so that when that came back, we upped the OPEB again. So we didn't want to cut town services. So that was our idea that we put forth. We did increase unemployment by 45,000, and then we've got small increases for our regular insurance and Medicare. We always talk a lot about health insurance. In the year we're in right now, we did budget an 8%, but we received a 4.9 from Blue Cross. Our retirees actually received a decrease in their premium of 6.5%. We do have an 8% premium increase that will begin on November 1st in this budget. And we have a health insurance stabilization, which has 676. So if we ever felt the need to pull on that, we do have that ready. And this just shows kind of how the budget history of health insurance over the past 10, 11 years. 21 looks low, but that's because we're mid-year right now. So that is not a complete year. So it just kind of shows you the fluctuations in that budget. And we think it's important to show you the subscribers. So really, for since fiscal year 10, the number of town subscribers has not gone up very, very much, but the retirees has. And in the school, the non-Medicare subscribers has actually gone down since 2010, but the retirees, of course, has gone up substantially. So that is something just to understand, and obviously we need to keep an eye on that. OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits, life insurance and health insurance for retirees. We do have a policy to annually fund the normal costs. The current liability is estimated at $72 million. That does go up and down each year with actuarial studies. So I don't get too excited about that number, but as I mentioned, we're funding this at $680, which is less than last year. The trust fund now has a current balance of $8.5 million, and in 22, if this is approved, we will have $9.1 million. And in the current year budget, in every current year budget, we pay the retiree health insurance. So that is also funded at 2.4 in that budget. Middlesex retirement, this year's 0.71% increase. So public safety, I mentioned that at the beginning, the select board did form a public safety. We're not filling that. Animal control, we reduced. We moved GIS coordination to engineering coordinator. Streetlights, thanks to Eric, and that project has been reduced almost 55,000. And the Board of Health asked me to increase their nurse, who is part-time up to full-time, but I did not fund that. It is paid for through the CARES Act through December 31st, so I felt we could continue those funds, and then if we need to revisit it in the fall, we could do so. Some impacts in the other direction are Neshoba Tech assessment increased 106,253. We have 7 additional students that will be attending. Solid waste, big problem for the town. That budget increased 168,000, and our tipping fees are increasing from 74 to 90 per ton. So this is something that we need to keep looking at and talking about. Our enterprise, as I mentioned, we are not applying 75,000 to the rec enterprise this year due to lost revenue. And ambulance, we do have lost revenue there too, amazingly, and we're not applying 50,000 in this budget. State assessments increased by 227,635 for school choice and charter school sending tuition. Couple other things to mention. If you remember in the spring, our street sweeper broke, and you all voted to allow us to purchase it. So we need to take that out of stormwater enterprise now. That's why we're reducing that deficit to 392,188. The rec enterprise is currently not offering these after-school program. I'm hoping to start that up in spring, and we'll hope to bring this back to the select board in March to discuss this. And then we explained a little bit about the Department of Revenue and tracking and how we have to revisit and make adjustments in the fall. So if you remember last spring or close to summer, at town meeting, we created a DPW. So that has resulted in efficiencies, and I wanted to just highlight a few of those. We did eliminate a position that after retirement, and another person retired. We eliminated half a position from that. We did consolidate the functions of purchasing, payroll, accounts payable under one position. We procured new contracts for lots of things, including street sweeping, catch basin cleaning. We've deferred capital actually for 2 years now. We deferred it in 22 and in 21, and we're working on rehabilitating our existing vehicles to extend their life. The pavement management plan will be fully funded by Chapter 90 and asphalt from Newport Materials Settlement. We moved GIS over into the Department of Public Works, and we completed the migration from Munis to UBCIS in support of stormwater billing, which went very, very well. We had very few appeals, which we are managing. So federal funding, we gave a slide to just show the funding that we have gotten to date, and briefly where it is. I think we've talked a little bit more, maybe had a chart in the other presentation, but we are poised to hopefully get additional federal funding, but we don't know that we will know until March. So at this point, we're just going with what we're sure of. Capital, the Capital Committee met again on Friday and had a very productive meeting. This is a little less capital funding than we have done in prior years, but I feel very good about it. I think we funded everything that we needed to do to keep our town operating and safe. We do have a capital stabilization balance of 459. We are planning to add the sale of 63 Main to that when it sells, and also the 40,000 from Cornerstone mitigation. So if we do those two things, where will we be, Dan? I think we'll be 499 with the 40, and we'll be what?
130,000.
What's the total if we do that?
730,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you correctly. Okay, so that's, that's funds that are important that we might need for some other project. So I'm not going to go through all these public works projects. We've done a lot and we continue to do a lot. And I think it's important for people to know what's out there. Some of these are really exciting for folks. So we're going to be busy, and hopefully we'll keep the town from being closed and not able to traverse in the upcoming year. And we have another slide showing more of the projects that we're working on. Carlisle Road sidewalk, lots of other different things, but they're in there for you to ponder, and we're happy to answer any questions. I think we have one more slide with DPW projects. I want to point out that last year we paved 7.3 miles in road without using any additional funding. So just Chapter 90 and Water Enterprise Newport Materials settlement. And we're planning to do the same thing this year. So that's good news. Couple of big projects that we have going on. First of all, the center building. I did give a history. It is on hold right now. We have used it frequently. We've married quite a few people in there this year too. I think some people came from Haverhill today or are coming to be married. So we're marrying people from all over. And I don't know if that's because other town halls are closed or what, but we're enjoying that. So this is on hold, and hopefully we'll get back to discussing these center buildings and the center soon. 63 Main, we are right now in the septic design, and once we are done with that, we will go to the applicable boards, and then we will create an RFP to get this hopefully sold. 35 Town Farm, of course, this is very exciting. The board's talked about this recently, and you did award a contract to SCG Development and Choice, and the town manager's office is currently negotiating a purchase and sale. So this will hopefully be senior affordable housing and a Westford food pantry. 12 North Main is a little more complex, but the board did just award the solicitation on this, and it is for 60 residential units. And one of the good news that Eric has told me recently is we actually think the contamination is less than we thought. So that's still not been determined, but that's what our LSP is, our licensed site professional is thinking. So that is good news. So the next slide just shows what are some of our variables. And one thing I thought tonight when I read through this is we should have added federal aid. So we should probably add that to this too, because that is a big unknown. But the pandemic, of course, is the biggest one right now, and our state and federal aid, but a lot of different things that we need to kind of think about as we move forward in this year. the slider article was approved, and we are getting ready to put that on the warrant, or the ballot for the upcoming election. And but that will also have an impact. So all these things will have an impact. So that's pretty much it. Obviously, we welcome your suggestions and your input, and we're very committed to this. Safety is our #1 concern, and so we look forward to working with all of you on this budget moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. And okay, I'll get to all of you. But thank you, Jody. Thank you to everybody who helped and you and worked on this budget. I do just want to reiterate, as Jody said, the presentation as well as her narrative are online, and the 2022 fiscal year budget, if not online yet, will be online shortly for the public and for everybody to look at it and to review it. Okay, with that, I saw hands. Scott, I'll just go around. Scott?
Okay, thanks. So just, first of all, Jody, it's always great to, in a good year, say, yes, you can have this, yes, you can have that. This is a 3rd year in a row of a tight budget, so thanks to you and Dan and the whole, department heads for getting us a budget we can live with for, a 3rd, tough year, which is never fun to have, but I'm glad to see that we're managing that. The one question I had was, the past month or so, we've seen gas prices go up 30 cents a gallon. What's in our budget assumptions for think about police, fire, highway. There's a lot of fuel in that budget. Is that level funded, or are we going to increase that with, belief it's going to probably change to the bad side for us?
Dan?
So we assumed we'd have it $2.30 a gallon moving into the budget process. So obviously it's about 15 cents above that right now. So it's something we have to keep an eye on. It's one of our variables moving forward. So.
Thanks. That's it for now.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, so I just want to echo, first of all, Scott's comments, Jody, to you and Dan, all the department heads, and I know the schools are going through the same thing now as well. So thank you all for working through this, continuing this, that we all obviously don't like, but this is exactly the responsibility that you have, in particular, Jody and Dan, to create this. And a reminder to those other committees, of course, who are on this call, as well as the public who may be listening, this is just the beginning of the budget process. And if I could ask one thing, and that's just to implore everyone to just be calm. Don't start rumors. Allow the process to work. Allow yourself to be a part of the process. And let's not politic this budget. There's only so much money to go around. If the taxpayers choose to want to have level services, then that's what needs to happen. And so let's let this budget process go on. The last 2 years, quite honestly, have been nothing short of a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, and unfair to people who work through this. And so, please just allow the process to work. Insert yourselves where you feel like you want to be inserted, and listen and learn about where there's areas of opportunity or trade-offs you want to make, but don't prejudge. That's all I have.
Okay. Tom, I think you had your hand up.
I did, Andrea, thank you. I also, so echoing what Scott and Mark said, and then specifically both Jody and the team at the town side and also folks in the school side, I know a lot of careful planning went into previous years that made this year more manageable. So some of the thoughtful work with the Public Works Department, some of the tough decisions I know we've made at the town and school level over the past several years, it set us up to handle a disruption of this scale. And so I just I want to appreciate that really hard work that's gone on throughout to make it, possible to approach this, complicated budget situation as well as we are. To Mark's point, I'm wondering, Andrea or Jody, if just for members of the public, if you might want to give an arc of how this overall budget work and timeline will work. Obviously, a lot of choices that we're going to begin to surface and explore, a lot of trade-offs still to come. We're not making any decisions tonight, but just for the benefit of people, to Mark's point, just to understand the kind of time and course of this, if I could just ask that you give a thumbnail, that'd be great.
Sure. I was going to do that. I was going to wait to see if there were any other questions from the board members and then do that. So I will do that, Tom. But Anita, did you have any questions or comments?
I just wanted to say also thank you to Jody and Dan. I was reading through all of the meeting packets over the weekend, and I was looking forward to hearing sort of the soundtrack to go with it. So it was really helpful. So thank you for all of your time putting everything together. I guess I had two questions, and I don't know if this is the right time to ask it, but I'm worried I'm going to forget. And for the Health Stabilization Fund, that's like 670K. What funds that? Is that?
Jody, do you want to answer that? Or Dan, one of you?
Yeah, I mean, we created that fund. I don't remember how many years ago now, but at some point when things were really a little dicey with health insurance, we had, I believe, a surplus in that line item that we went to town meeting and asked to put in stabilization. It's 2/3 vote of town meeting to get funds in that, and there's 2/3 vote to get funds out. So the intention of it was really for a bad year when health insurance went up beyond what we could fund. When I started in the town, the prior manager used to put 20% increase for health insurance in every year's budget, and I thought that was way too high. So we tried to go with the national trend. But that was the point of it being there. We've never used it since we started it. But if it's a particularly tough year and we think we have needs, I mean, that's what reserves are for. So it is there.
My other thought was just right before we started the meeting, we were talking about Jody's son getting married, and town hall sounds like it might be an option if you can't get people together. That was it. Thank you.
Okay. So just for folks to know sort of, where we are, where we go from here and what the process is. So tonight is actually the beginning of the process. And it's, we've had Jody's presentation. We have a budget book, that's yay thick, with all of the departments, every line item, all of their expenditures, broken out line item by line item. And over the next 6 to 8 weeks, the select board and the FinCom will be going through all of the various town department budgets to take a look at them. And those meetings will start on March 4th, and they take place on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. And while we have not yet set the schedule for when we will be reviewing different departments, that will be publicized so that the public can know, are we looking at, what night are we looking at, public safety? What night are we looking at highway? What night are we looking at the schools, which I know is always of great interest to everybody. But those will get posted, far enough in advance so that people can understand and know when those particular budgets are going to be discussed, and then can tune in as need be or as they want. Throughout this whole process, we make adjustments. We go through the budgets. We try and listen to everything before we make any final determinations. Right now, as Jody said, there's about 159,000 right now that really has not been allocated at this point in time, given the variables, the unknowns, given who knows whether we're going to see more federal funding, whether we're going to see more state funding. I think it's right now, those funds are just going to be held in abeyance while we go through this process to determine where the need is greatest and how we can best use those monies and basically get the most bang for our buck out of those. So those aren't going to be allocated, tonight or anytime soon. They're probably not going to be allocated until towards the end of the budgetary process, when at that point in time, the select board and the FinCom will vote either to make some changes and then to recommend the town manager's budget. But ultimately, that budget is then presented to town meeting in June, and it is town meeting who ultimately decides whether or not to accept the budget or not. And again, on the floor of town meeting or the field of town meeting, wherever we're held this summer or spring, changes can still be made and amendments can still be made and be brought forward by residents of the town. So that's the process. That's where we are right now. I would, as Mark said, I would encourage everybody to, to tune in, to participate, to listen, to learn. Please don't jump to conclusions. As I said, this is the opening budget. This is the opening night. This is not the final budget. I think, all of us, the school committee, the select board, the FinCom, are all committed to working together and to working cooperatively and collaboratively in these, difficult fiscal times to bring a budget to town meeting that represents the best budget that we can bring forward, that preserves, the level services as much as we can for the town as we move forward. So that's where we are. Tom?
I had one question from a community member, which I think you've already answered, which was, how does the federal funding situation affect us? We don't know.
We don't know.
So we're going to stay tuned, and we've got a little bit of time. So if we get good news, we will be able to incorporate that sometime between now and town meeting. So we're obviously tuned into that. The other point is, I did notice, Jody, and I know we'll have plenty of time to talk about this, the continued significant increase in solid waste management. I know we have a group in town that's looking at some options related to trash and how we handle trash in the town. And I wonder if we might ask them to accelerate their timetable so that any options they generate could be part of this season of budget discussion. It's just become such a substantial part of what we do. I think there's a lot of uncertainty about whether the current level of federal aid will continue. We do have a big revenue hole to fill. So I think it's an option that should be on the table, in my opinion. So that'd be a request.
Yeah, I think we can certainly look at that, and I do think it should be part of the budget discussion, incorporated into the budget discussion, and we can reach out to the Recycling Commission and talk to them about having them participate and update us and the community as to where they are, and how they see moving forward, because that is a line item that is just going to escalate really quickly and very fast over the next 3 to 5 years. So, all right. I don't see any further questions from the audience. Let me just make sure. Okay. I don't see any. So as I said, tonight is the opening of the budget discussions in the budget season, and FinCom Select Board joint meetings start on March 4th. And but meanwhile, should between now and then any major things happen, such as federal funding or additional state funding or whatever, we will keep everybody apprised and let everybody know. And as I said, all of the budget information will be is online at the town's website. So once again, thank you to everybody who has put this budget together. Okay, I see you. Wait a minute. Let me just finish. Thank you to everybody who's put this budget together, both the schools and the town. And hopefully we will have a productive budget process as we move forward this year. Jody?
Yes, so the second part of this, I just wanted to update the board really quickly on the sidewalk requests that we discussed last week. We did discuss this at Capitol, and Capitol did agree to support the Plain Road sidewalk, which was the #1 priority of both healthy Westford and pedestrian safety. We will be funding that through sidewalk gift funds, which I believe might be on your next agenda to hopefully get your nod of approval. So we were very pleased to be able to fund one. Robinson, unfortunately, is going to have to wait, and we will reevaluate Robinson next year.
Okay. All right. Okay, with that, we can move on to our 7:35 p.m. item, which is an update on the COVID-19 situation and the impact that it's having on the town operations. So I know Jeff is out there and is going to speak to this in a moment. One of the things I would like the community to know is we are all fully aware of the difficulties that our seniors are having here in Westford in getting vaccinated. We have heard from you. We are passing on your concerns. 2 weeks ago, on behalf of the town, I sent a letter to Governor Baker, our representative and our senator, complaining about the rollout of the vaccine and the lack of preparedness and the difficulty our seniors were having. I know today our town manager was on a call with the Lieutenant Governor and the Assistant Director of the Department of Public Health, once again complaining about the fact that Westford, despite requesting vaccine last week, did not get any vaccine. And while we are ready and able to go once we get vaccine in terms of vaccinating our population, we didn't get any. Our town manager made her disappointment and upset with that known to the Lieutenant Governor and the DPH. She followed up that with emails to, again, the governor, our representative, and our senator. Again, just stating, just how difficult a process this has been. We're not getting vaccine. It's difficult for our seniors to register. They have to go, if they do get an appointment, they've got to go to Gillette, or they have to go to Fenway, or God knows where else. So I just want the community to know that we are well aware of how hard it is. We're doing our best to advocate on your behalf and to get vaccine here and to get all of you vaccinated as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So please understand that, we're doing everything we can with the state. The rollout, to put it bluntly, has just been atrocious. So Jeff, with that, if you'd like to update us as to where we are, if there's anything new, if we can expect anything new, and I don't know, Jody, if you've heard anything further since late this afternoon, that would be, anything you can tell or help us would be great.
I think you're on mute,
Jeff,
Jeff.
you're on mute. You're on mute, Jeff.
Yeah, the system says he's not on mute. I don't know if we want to give him a minute, Andrea. It looks like it's troubleshooting on his side.
If you want, I
Yeah.
can call him and put it on speaker.
Okay, well, he's trying to figure that out. While you, Eric and Jeff, are trying to figure that out, let's go to our consent agenda, which is a request to approve a banner for Westford Youth Baseball and Softball registration for Thursday, February 25th, 2021 to Sunday, March 7th, 2021, in front of the J.V. Fletcher Library. Is there a motion to approve? Second? All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Let me see. I'm going to skip around. I'm going to exercise the chair's prerogative and skip around a little bit. Let's go to our 8:00 p.m. item, which is a request to open the town meeting warrant. So do I have a motion to open? Okay,
Second.
is there a second? All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. And just for everybody's information, town meeting right now is Saturday, June 12th, 2021. I'm not sure whether it's going to be indoors or outdoors, so stay tuned.
Andrea, I have Jeff ready when you are.
Okay, we are ready, so we will go back to Jeff.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I show my microphone is green, and so I don't know why it's not working. I want to share the sentiments the Board of Selectmen have with the lack of vaccine in town. There's nobody more frustrated than my department and this not being here. We've worked extraordinarily hard to try to get it. We have done all the things you're supposed to do. Jody's help has been very useful, and we will continue to take it whenever we can. All the muscle we can take, we will take to try to get it. I want to let people know that we have a clinic set and ready to go. It is going to be at Neshoba Tech if we actually ever do get vaccine. We have our people. We have the registration process. We're set with the senior center and getting people registered. We're just lacking that one piece in the vaccine. We have heard from other towns that they're not getting it either. Yet we have our neighbors getting it in Chelmsford, and they're getting it at Lowell. One thing we're hearing is that we're going to need to be able to probably regionalize, and that was something that kind of got dropped on us today, which was really frustrating and something we could have been working on for quite some time if we knew before today. That said, we've reached out to Susan Ball in Acton, and I have talked to Chelmsford to see if there's an option there at this point. And it's just going to be an ongoing conversation for us to be able to find that. Some good news is we will have a far closer regional vaccination clinic that will be taking place over at Lowell General Hospital's campus. That's going to be at the Cross River Center at 1001 Pawtucket Boulevard. They're slated to open to the public on the 15th, which is good news. And we're currently trying to work a way to get our seniors into that clinic through our COA vans. I'm hoping that can be ironed out in the next couple of days. Some good news on the vaccine front. We have started our second round of doses for our first responders. They will all be completed by Thursday afternoon. So the entire region's first responders will be completely vaccinated, and within 10 days should have the full effects of that. I did some looking on the state website today on where vaccine actually is in the rollout process. One thing that was a little frustrating to me is there's been approximately 1.3 million doses given to the state, and only 71% of those have actually been administered to date. So that means there's 30% of those doses somewhere out there. I understand some of those may be for second vaccines, because if you get one, you need the second. I'm just hoping that towns like Westford and similar communities can get some relief from this at some point. Happy to take any questions.
Mark?
Yeah, it's really not a question, just a comment, two comments. First of all, Jeff, to you, your staff, and Jody and the rest of the town staff who are pushing so hard to correct this wrong. Thank you for that. And whatever we need to do for more muscle, as Jeff said, that you just need to call on us and let us know what it is that we need to do. My other comment is just because I'm in this mood this evening to do it. Similar to the comment I made about the budget, there was so much time mudslinging in the months leading up to the vaccine on all sides of, you know, our state government and our federal government, time that would have been far better spent doing a better job planning for where we are and are not today. And so if it teaches us nothing else, it's like, let's just do the right thing all the time and work together to make it better and stop the mudslinging. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments from the board? Jody?
Yeah, I just want to kind of announce that because of what we learned today, that towns are the lowest priority for giving the vaccine. I just want to advise all of our seniors, particularly those 75 and older, just please try to get an appointment anywhere you can. We have drivers and vans who help take you there. If you need assistance with getting the vaccine, you may call the senior center at 978-692-5523, and there are people there that will help you. They'll go online, they'll help you get that appointment. I have heard from several residents who have gotten their vaccines. It has not been here, unfortunately, but we're happy to help you. So please see if you can get in an appointment now. Don't wait for Westford to be able to get a vaccine. I don't know when that's happening, so.
And I heard today that there are appointments available at Gillette. There are still appointments available at Gillette this week. And I know that the state on its website drops appointments every Thursday. So, Tom?
I'm really glad you mentioned that, Jody, about other ways people can get care. I know that, please contact your primary care provider. Many primary care providers have already released the list of their 75 and older patients for scheduling. And so depending on where you get your care, that's just another place you can go and make sure that you're getting into the system that way, because there are appointments being made that way as well.
Jeff?
Yes, I also have a list that's on the website, and I will continue to update it on any available appointments that people can get and any websites where people are going to have the opportunity to get it. We'll keep that updated as we get that information. It's important. Some places will be closer than others. I can tell you through my own family's experience that the Gillette experience, it may be a little frightening to some, but I've got a 75-year-old and an 82-year-old mother and father who made appointments, went down, and were home in a very short amount of time. So it's a doable process. I would certainly rather have our people closer to home and getting it done, but it's something that that people can actually manage, and don't be afraid of it. Like you said, Tom, get it where you can and go. I think it's more approachable than at some of those larger sites than people think.
Anita?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment, and that's thank you to Jeff and to the department and to Jody, to everyone, just for how hard you're working, because I know you're working really hard, and I know it's very frustrating and you can't really exhale at all. But I just am really appreciative, and I see all the updates that are on social media. I know you guys are working with the Cameron Senior Center, and they're getting their updates out too. If there's anything that we can help with, as Mark said, just let us know. But we really appreciate all the work that you're putting in and all the hours and time. I know it's very stressful.
Okay. All right, we do have a question, Beth Morrison has asked, is it required that all first responders are vaccinated? It is. If it is not required, what percentage has refused?
So Westford, we had approximately 75% of our first responders that actually got the vaccine.
Thank you.
No, it's not required.
Right. Okay. All right. We will continue to monitor the situation and keep everybody up to date. We'll continue to communicate with our state legislatures and with the governor's office to try and get vaccine here in Westford and make it a little easier for folks. But meanwhile, as you've heard, if you've got questions, if you need assistance, contact the senior center, and they will do their best to be able to help you, whether it's facilitating getting an appointment or even arranging a ride for you to go out of town to get your vaccine. So everybody hang in there, you know. It's difficult, but hang in there. We're getting there. Tom?
I think Emily Teller has a question.
Oh, I have my hand up, Emily. Sorry. No, I think Emily. Emily, are you there?
Here I am. Yep, I was
There you
muted.
are.
Hi.
Okay. Hi.
I had the same question as Beth. I mean, I know it's not required for first responders to get a vaccine, but I'm a little concerned that the percentage is so high. I don't, anyway, I'll just put that out there. And I have a question and then a comment. Where are the teachers in the phases that live elsewhere but work in Westford? Are they soon?
So K through 12 and school teachers are in part 3 of phase 2. So they lump into a larger category with public works, public health, transit, grocery store, and several other categories, which you can actually see the breakdown on the mass.gov website.
Okay.
But we're in preliminary talks with the schools on if we can actually get vaccine at that point, and of course we're pretty far out there. Can we get our teachers vaccinated in town? So we're very well aware with where they're at.
Okay, thank you. My other comment, I sent a link in. I have learned of a website that was created by a woman on maternity leave, and it is macovidvaccines.com. And it refreshes every 5 minutes and searches all the other websites. And I saw just now when I went to it that on the 14th, there are 524 current appointments available at Gillette Stadium. A lot of the sites are out west, but I talked to some friends from Concord who went to Gillette too. So I just wanted to give that resource as wide as possible. I sent it in to our federal and state legislators today also.
Right. It's interesting. It's a woman from Arlington who on her maternity leave created this website to serve as a central place where she could gather the information from all of the different websites. And my understanding is, I believe the governor is now talking to her.
We might want to put it on our website just as an idea.
Yep. Yeah, Jeff, maybe we can get it up on the Board of Health website or where or on the town website, just as another source of information.
And thank you all for what you're doing.
Thanks, Emily. Jody?
I just want to say that I haven't only called to complain. I've actually offered resources today to help them get this fixed. So I just want people to know I've offered solutions too, and I'm poised, ready to help them if they need them, and will accept.
Mark?
Yeah, sounds like we need to be sending them to private citizens, Jody, not to any of our state reps or political elements.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you for all your hard work. Thanks to, I know the Board of Health is also working very hard. I know the Senior Center is working very hard to help all of our seniors. So thank you, all of you. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Question.
Up and Emily had one final comment, which said West Virginia has also offered their successful methods to Massachusetts, but not accepted by Mass yet. So, okay, we are at our 7:50 p.m. Item under old and new business, and we are at to consider appointment of a resident to participate in the promotional process for Westford's new police chief. As the public may remember, the select board voted at our last meeting to add a citizen, or maybe it was the meeting before that, but to add a citizen representative to the committee that will be evaluating the applicants for promotion to our new police chief. So we have 9 people who have applied, and they include Avery Adam, Noel Almeida, James Connolly, Sean Hart, Chris Kopinski, Mark Lewis, Richard McKenzie, Al Prescott, and Diane Wood. And my thought was, if the board agrees, that we would, do this in sort of the manner that we usually do, which is that I will take nominations of any folks from all of you, and then we can discuss and vote on them. And as the slide has just gone up, for people who just want to know, the promotional panel currently consists of Scott Hazelton and Anita Tonaker-Wynn from the Select Board, Jody as our town manager, Joe Targ, the fire chief, Eric Heidemann, our assistant town manager, Jeff Morissette, director of land use, Pam Hicks, our human resources director, and a resident volunteer whom we will select tonight. So those are the members of the promotional panel. So I am open to nominations from any of the board members. Tom.
Just real quick, I just wanted, for members of the public who aren't following, everyone's various roles, I just want to point out that Scott is also a co-chair of the Town School Safety Task Force, so brings a lot of that study and expertise on board, also as part of the first responder study that's referenced earlier. And Anita is the liaison with the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, which I know is also an important voice we wanted to bring in. So as we're looking at kind of building a panel of people, I just wanted folks to know that we do have those voices at the table.
Great, thanks, I appreciate that. Scott?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that Anita and I have talked about the fact that there's 9 people, we only can pick one, and we do know that there's a lot of community interest. So we'll be talking about how do we get a means for you to talk to us. So there's this questions you've got that you want to make sure that get asked. That can happen, and I'm not sure, Anita, if we want to do that with a office hours, a virtual chat. I'll be on a bank on the common with coffee, but we will be inviting residents to get questions to us to make sure they get asked. And thanks somebody who volunteered. It was great to see a long list of people with that kind of interest, that kind of dedication to make it happen. A lot of really good talent and thoughtful responses there. And we have to make some decisions. So I'm going to nominate Noel Almeida as our citizen volunteer.
Okay. Anybody else, other nominations? Anita?
Well, I don't have another nomination, but I just wanted to make a comment actually, and I didn't talk to Scott before today's meeting or anything, but Noel was actually my first choice too, just because I was trying to think back to that slide where you had everyone listed on who would be sit on the panel. I was trying to think through who would complement the people who are on that panel, who wouldn't necessarily be taking on or kind of underscoring or adding to a voice that we already have. And so Noel just kind of filled that spot for me. But anyways, I just wanted to share that.
Okay. So I don't see any other nominations. Oh, Tom?
I'd like to make one other nomination. And I just, to Anita's point, looking at somebody who comes from a little bit different, sort of another point of view on this, I was really impressed with Chris Karpinski's statement here, and sort of his thoughtfulness about in the background work that he'd done, as reflected here. So I think he might also be a good addition to this group.
Okay. So we have right now 2 nominations, Noel Almeida and Chris Karpinski. Anybody else want to nominate anybody? Okay. Seeing no others, I will ask for a vote. I'm just going to do it in alphabetical order. All those in favor of Noel Almeida, raise your, say, no, we can't do that. I guess, yeah, we can't. So Scott,
Yeah, aye.
Mark,
Yes.
Tom,
Well, Noel's a great candidate also. I'm gonna hold my vote though for Chris.
Yeah.
So nay.
Anita,
Yes.
aye. And then in favor of Chris Karpinski, Tom?
Aye.
Okay. So by Mark? Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to a comment. First of all, I echo the appreciation for everybody who volunteered. When I read through all 9 of these, it is amazing to me. It continues to be amazing to me how much talent in this town there is for people to volunteer and to get involved. And, I hope that if, for the other 8 who weren't selected this evening, there are so many opportunities to get involved. And I think, as Scott and Anita referenced, I think there'll be plenty of opportunity to voice questions during this process in whatever ways, Scott and Anita, you guys choose to do that. But was very impressed. To me, it wouldn't have mattered who. It was going to be an excellent choice to go in. So thank you very much for everybody for showing that interest.
Oh, I'm going to echo what you said because I was going to say that anyway, Mark. I want to express my thanks and appreciation to the 9 folks who volunteered. Like you said, Mark, I was really impressed with all of the qualifications. And, as you said, we have a community filled with such talented people and who are always willing to step up and to volunteer. And that's part of what makes Westford and the great community that it is that all of you residents out there are just so invested in our community and in making it the best that it can be. So thank you to all of you. As Scott mentioned and Anita mentioned, they're going to set up whatever they decide to set up to allow folks in the community to present their questions and their concerns and their comments to them as this process goes forward. So I certainly encourage the other 8 people who we did not pick tonight to reach out to Scott and Anita to make their views known. And again, just, thank you, everybody. Anita?
Yeah, I just was going to add to that also. Thank you to everyone who volunteered. I feel like there were some frequent flyers and some people who, we don't know very well, at least in terms of the volunteering in committees and stuff. But with the expertise that people were bringing to the table, I was going to see if we could follow up with some of them when we were looking at the assessment center, right? Because I'm like, that's where the expertise would be really helpful for us, or for me, kind of like thinking about the different bids that we would be getting through that. And I was just thinking maybe that's a way to bring those voices into.
You know what? I am going to leave that to you and Scott to figure out and figure out what works best for you and what would be most helpful for you and for anybody else on that committee who may want to hear from the community as well. So, I, not wanting to micromanage, I leave it up to you guys to figure that out.
And Jody.
And what?
And Jody.
Yes, well, I said it. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. Okay, we have already done our 8 o'clock p.m. item. So we're now at our 8:05 p.m. item, which is a joint meeting with the Energy Committee to consider changes due to changes to the charter, to renaming the committee, expanding the membership. So, Jody?
Yes, I think we missed something under old new business. There was a 2 there.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Where is the
It's a
clerk?
request.
Where's
Yeah,
the
the clerk, I'm doing the clerk's job. But basically, if you remember, you did
Too busy
already,
complaining about life.
You did already send something to the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission with a report of who didn't renew. I think they must have found one more that didn't, which is Rangoli Grill. So we just need you to vote that you will sign that
Is there a
report.
motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes, and apologies to all of you.
All right, Mark. Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right. Now we're at the joint meeting with the Energy Committee. Okay. Hi, Mike, how are you? So if all of you remember at our last meeting, Tom and I undertook the task of drafting or putting together a draft charge for the select board to consider. We certainly took into consideration, Mike, the comments from the Energy Committee. We got some comments from Westford Climate Action. Tom and I did a little wordsmithing and drafting. And so in your packets tonight, you have what Tom and I came up with. Eric, can you get that up on the screen?
Sure. Just give me just a second.
Can you make it bigger?
Of course.
Thank you. So here's the charge that we've come up with. And I know, Mark, you had a concern with one phrase, as did John Cunningham, who had emailed us earlier. And I think that was the phrase that says, and taking any other actions necessary for Westford to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And thinking that that was a bit too broad. Is that a fair statement?
For me, yes. Taking any other actions, yeah, it to me is pretty broad. I didn't have an issue with anything else. Yeah, especially, and I like particularly the first sentence, which is to guide the town to a future, right? So I don't know how necessary that particular part is, taking any other actions necessary really is, but that's my only comment.
Okay, other comments from the board? Scott?
I guess the idea is that that sentence is to say, well, here are the tasks they'll do: identify goals, facilitate research, list support, and then do anything else. So, but rather than taking, I might say recommending.
That was my thought also, is changing it to recommending.
Yeah, I think you want an and other somehow, but you want it to be recommendations to the board, to the select board, not, actions on their own.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, that was going to be my wordsmithing suggestion, is that we change it, and recommending other actions, necessary for Westford to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050.
Yeah, much better.
Okay, Jody?
I just think we should correct what Paul's title is, which is Facilities Director, not Town Facilities Manager. So
that's fine.
It's just Facilities Director.
Okay.
Town and school.
That's fine. We can make that change. Okay. So with that, with those two changes, and let's do this in sort of 3 steps, okay? So with those two changes, is there a motion to approve the charge for this committee as amended tonight?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, Anita,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Mark,
Yes.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have, the suggested name is to be the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee, which I think we all agreed last time was a new name that reflected what the purpose of the committee was. So, and then there's also a recommendation that there be 9 committee members. Is there a motion to approve the name change and to appoint and to have the committee membership comprised of 9 members?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor, Anita,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Aye. Okay, that's great. I have a question. Okay, Mike, you go first, and then I'll ask my question.
Thank you for that, and appreciate this. I think it looks good, and I think if the committee wants to suggest any other tweaks, certainly the committee can and bring it back to the select board. But I think this is good. I would expect, from past discussions that the committee, and most other stakeholders, can understand and go with this. So thank you for all this guidance. I did have a question on the number of committee members, because there has been a lot of comments around this effort really needs to be broad and inclusive and include a lot of folks, select board, other town committees, other stakeholders in town, church groups, businesses, residents. So I was just wondering if you can give guidance on how to include the right folks with a committee size that is larger than we have now, but is not unlimited. And so how to balance that. So again, if there's anything specific now or in general, just how a committee that really has to be involved with so many other groups can do so with a set number of committee members.
So I guess that's a nice segue into my question, which was, and I probably should know this, but how many members are on the Energy Committee right now?
So we have 5 full-time slots and 2 alternate slots.
Okay.
And we have 5 members currently active.
Okay. I guess I shouldn't make this assumption, but are the 5 members who are currently active committed to staying on the committee? Do you know?
Some of them have expressed the desire to continue. Some I have not heard from.
Okay. So maybe it makes sense. And then in terms of expanding the committee to 9 members, I think we would do what we normally do, which is that folks would who are interested would fill out a citizen's application form and submit that, and we can review those. And honestly, depending upon that, maybe, seeing who applies will help, determine who gets appointed. I also think that some of the folks you've mentioned, I know, and who you've reached out to, it might not be that they need to be full, members of the committee, because perhaps there are, only certain times that, you will need them for certain projects. So they could be, ex officio members, or they could be folks who you would reach out to for a particular project or a particular issue that you would want their expertise on, as opposed to committing to being a full member if really they're only needed for, one small circumscribed part or issue. So I think that's something we can think about as we go forward and move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, so just to that end, I think like a lot of the committees we have formed over the last year, there's a great level of interest beyond the number of people who can actually sit full time on these committees. And so I think outreach and open door sessions, I think like Scott referenced, that he and Anita may do, things like that are going to be really important. To run a committee that's much bigger than that, it's just you'll never have enough seats to get all the insights that people want to give you. So I think there's other ways to do it. where you'll get that input. But the 9 need to really set the agenda and the timelines and things of that nature, and then there'll be a lot of excess or extra work outside of the committee for sure.
Scott?
I was going to observe that we have a track record of appointing committees, setting numbers. They're looking at applications and saying, wow, we can't make all the cuts. So, if we get a very, very strong list of interested parties and the Energy Committee and Senator Westford feels like we need more than 9. I mean, we can always say there's two alternates being added. As there's 2 alternates now, we can always put those 2 alternates back in place, and get a little more flexibility if we had to.
Yep. I can't remember. Hang on a minute. Tom, did you have your hand up? I can't remember.
I did, but I think those guys covered it, and I just wanted to point out there are a couple folks waiting with questions.
I see that. I just wanted to go through the board. Okay. So Beth Perkins stated she wanted to speak on size. So if you can unmute Beth, Eric, and then Beth can speak.
Thank you, Andrea. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Well, I would have to say that, Andrea, I agreed with your comments a few meetings ago that we may want to wait and see how many qualified people apply for these positions before we make a final decision on size. And I just wanted to let people know that Westford Climate Action open house, this was for a 2 p.m. in the afternoon meeting, open house for Westford Climate Action, and we had 48 people who registered for the meeting and 32 people who came. So, and there were a lot of very, interesting and qualified people who attended our open house meeting. So I think we might be surprised by the number of qualified people who would apply for something like this in town. And I like the idea of leaving the final number open until we see who the applicants are. And then this is just a basic question. Would everyone, would the existing people who are on the Energy Committee be reapplying? For instance, would we only have 4 new positions on the committee, or would all the positions be open?
So I think that was one of the reasons I asked Mike whether everybody was still interested or not on the committee, because I think their appointments on this committee run through either 2022 or maybe some of them 2023. So I'm loath to, remove people from a committee that they're, that they've been a part of and that they've been appointed for a 3-year term. But if such, so I think that those folks at least need to express their interest and let us know whether they're still interested in being on the committee or not. So I think that's the answer to that question. And then in terms of, I think as, Scott, mentioned and clearly, if we got 50 people who applied for this committee, I think, we probably could not have a committee of 50 people. But if there is a number that apply and they all look, are all well qualified and committed, then I certainly think as we go to the appointment process, whenever we do that, we can certainly revisit whether we stick, whether 9 is a hard number or whether we determine whether we, up that number by, an amount to accommodate folks. But I think, for now, let's see how it plays out and let's see what happens and what we get. And then okay, you good, Beth? And then, or?
Yeah, as long as we have some leeway with the final number, I'm good.
Okay. And Carol Morse, I see that you've got, Carol Morse has written, I agree with Mike, I believe 9 members might be too small. I would suggest 13. Carol, do you want to speak to that or just?
Sure. I just think, it should be a manageable number, and, we're looking for people with the kind of background that have something to bring to the table. I think, beyond a certain number can get unwieldy. So, the number 13 isn't sacred in any way, but, it's a bit more than the 9, but it's not 25. So in looking around at other towns, it seemed to be somewhere between 10 and 20 on these boards.
Okay, so I think right now we've set it at 9, but I think based on sort of who applies, how many apply, expertise and experience, it's open for amendment or modification when we get to the appointment process.
Good.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all your hard work. This is actually pretty exciting that we're getting this going. So thank you, everyone. Okay. Any board reports or updates? Seeing none. We have minutes for approval for our regular session of January 12th and January 26th. Is there a motion to approve and release?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Jody, town manager's report.
Guess we're not having one tonight.
I guess we're not having one.
Something froze there, but it's back. Okay, thank you. So we have a request from the Council on Aging to accept a grant from Greater Lowell Community Foundation COVID Response Emergency Fund to address food insecurity in the amount of $3,000. And you want me to keep going? A request for a contract with the Executive Office of Elder Services to support our Council on Aging's programming services and administrative needs in the amount of $40,248. And then we have 2 purchase orders, one Cybercom Communications Solutions for radio service agreement, $11,323.50. And from Rodenbush, we have from the lease expense account, Ombre Elevator for elevator repairs in the amount of $2,168.
Motion to approve. Oh, sorry.
Just before the motion, I just have a question with respect to Rodenbush. Is this not like the 3rd repair that we've had to do because it's fallen, something has, some piece of equipment has failed and has fallen out of warranty? And why does that keep happening? That's probably a rhetorical question that nobody can answer, but it's just striking me that, the building is not that old and we're having to, pay these funds to repair equipment that's new.
I've asked that question too. It is.
Looks like Paul has his hand up. Paul Fox.
Okay,
Good.
Paul.
He's the one who can.
Hello, can everybody?
Yep. We had you and then lost you. There you go.
Yes. Oh, I'm getting a webcam. Hello. So I was absolutely anticipating this question to come about.
Gee, I can't imagine why.
I know. And it's certainly something that's been frustrating, certainly with the new building. With every problem that does come up, we do try to go back and look at the warranty and figure out exactly, can we go back after the vendor or not? In some situations we can, in others, unfortunately, like the elevator, it does make it a bit more challenging. Typically items on those are really only 1 year or so. We did have an interesting thing take part though, in which the town did just get a brand new elevator inspector. He's been around for about 1.5 years. So typically we've been hit now on 2 different items on the elevator. And so that's why they failed when they may not have failed in the past. It is something that is really kind of subject to the inspectors that are around. The inspector certainly has the right to ask what he's requesting, and you know, some are just more lenient than others. I did want to give a brief update because the last time, I think about a month ago, I did request about 8,000, maybe a little more or so. I think it was almost 12,000 altogether. And I believe I did include something in your packet where we were able to close both of those projects out much cheaper under budget. And I think ultimately of that 12,000, we only spent about half of it, so 6,000. So I do appreciate continuing to work with us on correcting some of these actions. Hopefully, at least items like the elevator, again, it's a trend that we saw in town that seems to probably be slowing down. And I think the elevator inspector was trying to pitch away at some of those items. So.
Well, thank you for the savings on the other 2. We appreciate that. Do you, and maybe it's hard to predict, do you think that there's anything else coming down the pike from Rodenbush?
I'll have to think about that one. There's definitely there's some potentials for a few items. I think that the roof has potentials with the slate roof that's there, but in general, I think the building has held up for the most part okay. We did have a water intrusion that I think everybody remembers that occurred over the summer, I think, after a major rainstorm, which I believe was taken out of the original scope of work, which we'll have to work with. I've had brief conversations with the engineering department, and we believe that we could adjust some of the rainwater leaders that come off the building to help support that. But I do anticipate a project such as that coming about in the near future.
Okay. Anita?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks, Paul, for all of your help in coming onto our meeting tonight. I'm always continually impressed by the town staff who log into our meetings at 8:30 at night. I'm really appreciative. And I guess the only question is that a fox behind you, Paul Fox?
Yes, it is. It's a good family story. So thank you. I'll certainly share it with you at some point. Thank you.
Just be careful. It doesn't look very nice.
All right. Jody?
I don't know if you all know, but Paul's going to be a dad next month too. So we might not have him at our next couple meetings.
This is
Well,
fair.
congratulations.
Well, or we may.
Yeah. Yeah, right. You may need somewhere to get out. You may see me back at the Millennium taking these calls.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Enjoy your sleep.
One more thing before you're done with me, and by the way, Eric Heideman's going to have a baby next month too, so I'm going to be busy. I just want to do a little shout out to our DPW. We've had a lot of snow recently, and they have done a phenomenal job. And I mean, the one that we had one today, but the one before that was during the Super Bowl, and these guys were still out there taking care of business. So I really want to thank them for all they do. Amazing job. And then just another shout out to Steve Cronin, the director of the department. He's been running the water department. I don't know if you guys know that since he was promoted to DPW, because we can't find a water superintendent. So he's been running both departments since June. And of course, all the others, Chip and Kevin and the other supervisors and staff. So just great job by all of them.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, we were talking about the DPW. I think we should get the local news channel to come up and like do a piece or something, just so that they're recognized. That would be a good thing to do.
Make sure it's Channel 4.
Or 7. It could be 7 too. They were here last week. All right. Is there a motion to approve all of these contracts, purchase order, and the gift?
So moved.
A second? All those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Okay, before we make a motion to waive reading correspondence, I'm sorry, Mark, I have a question. I have a question about the Stantec lab report regarding our Forge wells and the fact that they are showing contamination. what are we doing about that?
Is Steve Cronin out there still watching?
I don't see him.
I don't see him. Okay, well, maybe, I don't want to wake him up. So,
This is something that periodically happens and we go investigate and we retest and everything. So nothing to be alarmed about. They are very aware of it and working on it. So
maybe Jody, if you could update us at our next meeting, you or Steve. I think I and the public who may have seen this would appreciate it.
Sure, happy to.
All right, Mark, now you can make your motion.
A motion to waive reading of the remainder of the correspondence.
Is there a second? Okay, I'm not roll calling. All those in favor?
Motion
Okay.
to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor? All right. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Westford. Good night. Stay safe.
Night, everybody.
Get your vaccine.
Good night.
Night.